everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to continue with my new series, the Adult Coloring for Beginners series. I am so excited about this series and I hope that you all are too. And if you haven't already seen the first couple videos that have been posted in that series, I will post those in the cards above in the upper right hand corner, and there will also be links to the playlist as well as the previous videos down in the description. If you did not already see the very first one, make sure that you do go back and watch that first. I gave you some ideas on coloring books that would be really great for beginners so that you could kind of expand your skill and your creativity. And then I showed you a couple different choices for budget-friendly pencils. And I told you the only 3 things that you need to be able to start in this amazing hobby. So please do make sure that you watch that video. And we are going to get into the basics today on how to choose colors, because that is the one most popular question that everybody in my Facebook group has been asking me over and over again. So I figured that would be a great first video. And of course, in this series, we are going to use the Arteza pencils since they seem to be pretty popular. And I already have a series on the Black Widow pencils going on my channel, and I know a lot of you have already seen those. So I'm going to stick to the Arteza pencils specifically for this series. If you enjoy videos like this and you want to continue to see my videos and be part of this series, please make sure that you do subscribe to my channel and also turn on your bell notifications so that you're always notified every time I post a new video. Also, make sure you join my Facebook group so that you could keep track of what is going on there, because I like to keep my Facebook group very interactive with my YouTube channel, and that way everybody knows what's going on in both places. If you enjoy this video, please do make sure you give it a thumbs up because it really helps my channel out a lot. So let's go ahead and get into this video. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is where to get your inspiration for coloring or for your coloring page. I like to use color palettes, and the way that I do that is I use an app called Pinterest or Google. A lot of times if you go on Google and you type in what you're searching for as far as a color palette, you will be redirected anyway to Pinterest. So for me to just kind of cut out that middle step, I now just go directly to Pinterest, and it's a great website or app. And if you have an account, you could always go back and save all your favorite color palettes and pin them to a certain folder, and always be able to go back and reference those later on. So I have Pinterest pulled up here on my phone, and what I'm going to do is I am looking for purple blue color palettes. You could see that I was already doing this before I started the video, so it's already here in my searches. So I'm typing in purple blue color palettes, and it is going to give me suggestions for color palettes that have those 2 colors in them. And then as you scroll, you may find some that have other added in colors, like this one. We're starting to get ideas for like pink mauve colors, and if we continue to scroll down, you're going to see that they kind of start to change. Like this one has those colors, but it's got yellow in it. So if I go back up here and I click on, say, the first one that it showed me that has the blue and the purple in it, I mean, I would even say that this one is not like really a true blue, but it's still very pretty. So if I click on that and then I go down here and I scroll down, I'm going to get other suggestions that are kind of in the same color family. Like here is another one that is very, very pretty. It's got a purpley color in it and also blue, but then we're bringing in pinks too. This one is gorgeous. And you could just cruise around and just keep scrolling and clicking, and I mean, it's endless. Look how pretty that is. But you just scroll through Pinterest and you've got so many different color palettes. A lot of them I will just save to my phone so that I can go back and I can view later. Okay, so here are some of the ones that I saved to my phone that I thought were really pretty. And they all have purples and blues in them, and some of them got pink too. This one's gorgeous. I love that one. But they're all kind of the same idea with different variations of color with different colors added in. And then this is completely has nothing to do with the purple and blue, but that's another gorgeous color palette that I found. And then this one is really, really pretty. And then we have this one that is absolutely gorgeous. I love that green. So that is where I find my inspiration for my coloring pages, and I kind of just think about what color, what main color I kind of want in my page after I pick a coloring page. And dependent upon what it is, dependent upon how I'm feeling that day, like if I'm just kind of feeling really down and I just want to color something and have it kind of bring me energy and kind of bring my mood back up, I tend to choose oranges and yellows. Well, orange means energy, happiness, vitality, and then yellow just screams happiness. I use yellow with so many other colors. I put yellow with purple, yellow with blue, yellow. I use yellow as like my main highlight color. Those of you that have been following me for a very long time, you know that I use yellow a lot to make things on my page just completely pop off the page. And a lot of that is because yellow is just, I don't know, I look at yellow and it just screams happiness to me, and it just kind of brings me up and makes me feel much better. If I just kind of want to feel calm and just relaxed and it's late at night, I tend to go more towards blues because blues just give you that really calming feeling. So that is just an example without getting into too much color theory too much in this video, since this video is geared towards beginners. If you would like me to expand on that, I'd be glad to do another video on that specifically, maybe as we get further into this beginner series. But today I just want to share with you how to get inspiration, and then I'm going to show you a little bit on how to choose those colors from your pencils. As you can see here, I've got my swatch chart, and if you didn't already see that video, I will make sure that that video is linked in the upper right hand corner as well, because you do need to swatch your colors. Whatever pencil set that you're going to use, it is so important to swatch your colors, because on a lot of these budget-friendly pencils, the colors are not going to match whatever the barrel shows you. So just because you see a certain color on the barrel does not mean that that's what color is going to lay out on your paper. I also always suggest swatching your colors first, not on your coloring page, prior to laying them on your page. Okay, so for the sake of this video, I am going to stick to this page just because I've already started this one with the Arteza pencils. And this is why I wanted to show you the blue and purple color palettes, because you could see here I've got blue and purple, and of course for the leaves I've started to add in another color to go along with my blue and my purple. So this is the color palette that I was looking at, and that gave me inspiration to color this page. And if you see, the colors are not necessarily exact, but it kind of leaves me open to add in other colors and change them up a little bit. So you could see here that we have this kind of like magenta type color, and you could see over here in the flower, let me move this over. I am going to put that color palette up on the screen to make it easier so that you guys can see the color palette on the screen next to the page. But you can see, if you are looking at this, let me see, I'm trying to fit all of this in the frame. There we go. So you could see, if you are looking at the color palette, that these general colors are in here, and I've also added in some green, but the yellow that is in this palette I also brought into the green. And then we've got our darker purple, and we also have the purpley pink color, and that is kind of pulled in right here. So when you're looking at your color palette, you don't generally, I know I've done some videos in the past where we had a color palette and I showed you how to choose 3 different colors for each section on your color palette. And so, like, for instance, on this one, we have 5 colors. We would end up with 15 pencils that we have to stick to for the page. So if you're a beginner, you wouldn't start there. That would be when you got more advanced and you really wanted to try to kind of expand, because that works well in 2 different ways. It can work really well and it could benefit you in that you don't have 150 pencils staring back in your face or 120 pencils staring back in your face, making it really overwhelming. Or it could work against you to where you're very limited with your pencils, and then so you feel like you have no other choices and you're just kind of lost when you're coloring. When you first start out coloring and you're using colored pencils, I would suggest just using that color palette to give you some inspiration and not necessarily try to follow it completely. You don't have to stick to anything completely. You need to be able to expand your creativity and just kind of go with your own ideas as well. So if I were looking at that color palette and I wanted to choose more colors for that, I would suggest when you're first starting that you stick to the same color family and don't try to mix your colors too much. Like, on a lot of my previous videos or my tutorials, you'll see me mixing colors that are like purple with the yellow. And I would say that that is more advanced. It's not necessarily a beginner skill. I mean, you can do it and try it and see where you get with it. But I didn't start doing that until years further after I was already into this hobby. So let me go ahead and show you an example of how to choose your colors. So if you're looking at the color swatch, it should still be up on the screen at this point. Let's look at, let's look at that lightest blue color. And if I'm looking at that lightest blue color, I am going to look on my swatch sheet to see what color is going to mostly match up to that. And I am thinking probably somewhere in here, like where the sky blues are. This set doesn't really have I'm not sure how many of you that are following this series have Prismacolors. I'm sure plenty of you do, but like the cloud blues and the very light pale blues, those kinds of colors are very hard to get in a more so budget set. So the lightest of the blues in these sets are not going to be those very pale blues. So I would say that the sky blue is probably going to be the closest, or the peacock blue would even match up against the blue all the way to the end of our color palette. So let's go ahead and look at the peacock blue. And then I would say stay in, okay, so here's my pencils. And we're already open to the blues. So we said we're going to look at peacock blue. Our peacock blue looks like this right here. So the peacock blue was the color that matched closest to the color, the second blue over in our color palette. So we are going to use this as our main color, and I would always suggest you choose a mid-tone, a darkest tone, and then your lightest tone. Of course, the lightest tone you always use for your highlights, and then the mid-tone you're going to use for your shading, and then your darkest tone you are going to use for your shadows. So that is generally how it works, and you can stay in the same color family and still create something beautiful. Okay, so we have our peacock blue, we have our color palette, and we have our swatch sheet. So we are going to start with the peacock blue, and we are going to choose a color that would be darker. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the color that would probably go really great with the peacock blue is probably this Asian blue. I think those would be really pretty together. And then, I don't know, maybe something a little bit different or a little bit lighter. So we have our Asian blue and our sky blue, and I don't know, maybe some robin egg blue, or maybe a little bit, I have an idea. These are still blues here, but they add in, some of these blues are a little bit purpley. So we're still staying in the same color family, and we're adding another range of color in there a little bit to try to kind of create a contrast. So if I do this Asian blue with my peacock blue, let me grab my Asian blue. So here's the Asian blue, here is the peacock blue. And then maybe we could create something beautiful by adding, I know we want something that's going to be a little bit different. Maybe blueberry blue? Or the Egyptian blue. The Egyptian blue is really pretty. I think I like indigo. Indigo is always a favorite of mine. Or we can go very, very dark and we could do midnight blue. Let's try that. So we've got our midnight blue. Am I in frame? We've got our midnight blue way down here. Okay, so there's our midnight blue. Then we have our peacock blue here and our Asian blue here. So let me go ahead and get the midnight blue. And our midnight blue looks like it's going to have a little bit of purple in it. So here's our range of colors. And they're all in the same color family. And we're going to try this and we're going to see what happens. Okay, so we've got the butterfly in frame and we have our three colors. Now, we don't have something that's really light, but we're using a color. This peacock blue is very bright. So I'm hoping that'll give us the effect that we want. Of course, you can see that I've got nice sharp leads. I use my Doll 133 pencil sharpener to make sure that I have very sharp leads on my pencils all the time because that's very important. So I'm going to start with my darkest color, and I am going to just kind of come in here and I'm going to lay it down very lightly. Now these pencils, although they are a more budget-friendly pencil, they do have quite a bit of pigment. So I'm doing this very lightly. And I'm just kind of doing it on the outsides. Then I'm going to come in with my Asian blue and I'm going to kind of try to not go all the way over that, but try to create a little bit of a transition here with these two colors. Now they're both dark colors and they're both blues. But look how pretty that is. And then I'm going to come here on the outside and I'm going to come back with my darkest color and kind of go over that there. The darkest color is always used to create depth. And even if you are using a dark color, it doesn't have to go down really dark. You can change the variation of colors by how much pigment you lay down on the page. And these being wax-based pencils are very easy to do that with. This is my peacock blue. And I'm just trying to kind of lay the colors down in different areas, kind of how I would have done it when I was a beginner colorist and I was just learning. And I'm just laying this lighter, brighter color just kind of around. And I'm just kind of mixing my colors up instead of concentrating on the blending of the colors so much. Now see how I kind of changed that, where I used the Asian blue here, and then I used the darker blue that had some purple in it up in this area. And I just want to show you that even with using these colors that are generally within the same color family, you can still create something very beautiful, and it is very easy. And this is where you should start before you get so carried away with having to add this and that and this and that. And I'm even probably going to leave some of the white of the paper. And you can always do that because it really helps to create more variation and transition of your colors. And I'm going very slow because I'm always a slow colorist, but I'm trying to do this slower so that y'all could like see what I'm doing. But I'm just kind of trying to mix these colors up and put them in different areas of this wing. And see, when I pull this through, I am just not really applying a lot of pressure. But in this corner, I'm applying more pressure. This is the same color. And you see how I got two different shades from one pencil? That is pretty cool, huh? But you can do that, and you could utilize that technique to really help you. Now, if I want to utilize the white of the paper and I just want to come down in here and kind of lightly color over that, I could just automatically leave highlights there without even bringing in a highlight color like you would if you were a more advanced colorist. And then I'm going to come back in here and I'm just going to add more depth in these areas. And I'm going to come back with my lightest color and I'm just going to try to pull this through. And look how I'm just not going to completely color that center, cover that center. I go over it very, very lightly and just kind of with a very light hand drag my pencil over it. And I am just automatically creating highlights in the highlighted area without even using a highlight color and still staying in the same color family. So that is a really cool technique that you can use when you are a beginner. And it really works. You just use the white of the paper. You don't have to worry about having necessarily a highlight color. You pick your colors, stay in the same color family, and you just use the variation of those colors in the same color family. If you wanted to get a little bit more advanced, I have my white quartz from my Arteza set, and you could come in with your white and you would just go in the opposite direction, in this case in a circular motion, and you would just pull those colors together. Can you see the difference that is making? And I'm still keeping to the white area, and it is just creating a highlight on these wings. Now when you go over the areas that are more pigmented, you need to make sure that you stay only on those areas, because if you go down into where your white space is, you're going to pull that color into there, and you don't want to do that. And after you've gone over the blue with your white pencil, you need to go and color a little bit on a scrap paper with your white pencil, because you will have the color on the tip of the lead, and you don't want that. And then come back and create more white space. Only where you want to keep the white. And then of course I'm going to come back and go back over the other areas, and this is what we call burnishing. And I'm actually really surprised, because this white Arteza pencil is working just as well as if I was using my Prismacolors. Oh man, these are amazing pencils. Again, anything you've seen in my videos or anything that I use, you can always go down to the description. I will have links there for you. I will have links for the UK and for the US for the Arteza pencils, as well as a discount code for you if you're in the US to use on the Arteza site. These are really wonderful pencils. But look at this. So we stayed all in the same color family with our pencils. We brought in a little bit of variation of blues so that we could create a contrast in the wings, and it came out really pretty. And then we just used the white in the white of the paper to create our highlights, instead of having to come back and bring in a highlight color, which is a really great idea for beginners, because a lot of times if you try to bring in another color and create a highlight color, and you're pulling colors from all over the color wheel, it's very easy to get a little bit mixed up if you don't really understand the color wheel yet, and we'll get more into that in future videos. But I really love the way that this turned out, and this is a great place to start when you are just starting. Guys that have been following me and are in my Facebook group know that I am a little obsessed with Stickles. And so the little dots in the butterfly, I kind of want to just add a little something to just kind of make those pop off the page. And I don't know, this purple's really pretty, I think. And purple was in our color scheme, or our color palette. So if I wanted to come back, let me see what color this is. This is lavender, and I'm just going to come back with my lavender, and I'm going to just fill in these little dots. Look how pretty. And I will finish that butterfly later, but I really kind of wanted to just do this first video. I zoomed in so that you could see the butterfly wing even closer, but it turned out really pretty. and we only used one color family. We stayed in the ranges of blues. And when you're talking about blues, there are blues with purples and blues with greens. So it's very easy to stay in the same color family, create contrast. And the little trick that I showed you here was using the white of the paper to create your highlight, and then I was able to come back and burnish it all together. And if you look closely at this butterfly, you could see the more tealy green or more tealy blues in there. You could see the darkest of blues where we created depth, and they just all pulled together very, very nicely, and you could still see where we used the white of the paper to create our highlight area. And of course, I had to add my Stickles because you guys know me. Even though it's a beginner video, I've got to show you how to have some fun with this hobby. And I will have a link down in the description also where you guys can find your Stickles. And I usually go to scrapbook.com. I'll have a link down there for y'all because it is the cheapest place that I have found to go buy my Stickles, where I could buy them individually, and they always have wonderful sales. So that's generally where I've been going the last couple times I got my Stickles. So I hope that this video was helpful to you if you are a beginner and just kind of coming into the coloring community and exploring this wonderful new hobby. I hope that you learned something from this video and that you can create something beautiful with only using colors from the same color family and utilizing the white of the paper. And of course, still have a little bit of fun and add a little bit of decoration, like here I used the Stickles. So we'll get into more of those things in future videos, but I wanted you to understand how to create something beautiful without becoming overwhelmed, and use a color palette just to give you inspiration without feeling like you need to completely stick to that color palette, and you can go outside of that color palette if you'd like. We will expand on this video and continue in this series. So if you have any suggestions as to where you would like to go next, please do leave those suggestions down in the comments below, because I always read my comments and I always respond, and I always use your guys' ideas for future videos. If you enjoyed this video and you want to continue with us on this beginner series, and you would like to continue to be notified of every time I post a video, please make sure you're subscribed. You have your bell notifications on. And please do also give this video a thumbs up because it really helps my channel out a whole lot. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Happy coloring. Bye.